Good morning, everyone. This is Bob Surridge from the Southport Historical Society. I'm here this morning with Chuck and Debbie Giesel at Chuck's Homemade Ice Cream Store. We're located right at around the corner from Lowe's Foods at Southport Crossing Way. Now, Chuck and Debbie are the owners of Chuck's Homemade Ice Cream, and you just had your grand opening here at this new location.
Yes.
Now, we all know that homemade ice cream is not brand new to Southport, and if you talk to someone, some folks who grew up in Southport of a certain age, they'll tell you that the best homemade ice cream they had when they were kids was at Willie McKenzie's Confectionary, and that was a little store on about the 400 block of North House Street. Willie and his wife Anna McKenzie, they ran that store for 58 years, from 1910 to 1969. The centerpiece of the Willie McKenzie Confectionary was a white marble soda fountain. That exact same white marble soda fountain is the one you see here in Chuck's Homemade Ice Cream. And Chuck and Debbie, could you explain a little bit about what prompted you to bring this treasure back to Southport and in your store?
Well, I love history, number one, and I collect antiques for many years. And a gentleman came in, a guy, and he had this fountain in storage for many years, and he wanted to see it re-erected. And we made a deal that I could pick it up, and when I got it, it was in probably 75, 80 pieces. And the wood, this wood was actually almost white, it was like gray. So what I did is I picked it up, took it back to my shop. I refinished the wood by only oiling it and putting a little poly on it. And then we reassembled the back bar about a month and a half ago. And then I started working on this front counter, which was like a puzzle, because all the pieces of marble and the metal and wood was all disassembled. So I had to figure out how to put the puzzle together. And it was a challenge, but I like challenges. So I went ahead and got it all together, and this is a total original bar. The fountains are here, the goosenecks for the carbonation water is here. The carbonations aren't hooked up. It's not a usable bar, but I wanted to bring the history back, and since it was from Southport, it makes it very, very special. And that's why I did it.
All right, thank you. And thanks for hosting us here today. I mean, this is a real thrill to have this piece back in service in Southport. So thank you.
I love it. It's a lot of people have walked in, and I had a woman the other day that just walked in, they get ice cream, and she looked at the bar and she said, "That reminds me of a bar that I used to go to as a kid down in Southport." And it just thrilled her when I said, "Well, this is still it," you know. So that's a nice feeling in my heart.
We have another kid from Southport with us today, Mary Ellen Lots Pool. Come over here, Mary Ellen. Okay. So I understand you used to go, because you were just a little one
Yes,
at that time. You used to go to Willie McKenzie's store with your father.
Yes, my dad used to take us to Mr. Willie's store, and we would go in, and there would be the little bar stools, what we call ice cream chairs. They would be, what do you call them? Little wrought iron chairs. And we'd sit here, and I would always get a grape sherbet. And my mother's special order was, please pick up a pumpkin pie that Miss Anna made. So that's what that's a favorite time of my childhood, good memories.
Thank you, Mary Ellen.
She was an amazing person. She bought this set for Mr. Willie by doing laundry at a quarter a load for people. And she saved that quarter to buy him this set, which I have got to say that's awesome. For womankind, that to do that for her man, that was all wonderful.
Mary Ellen. I also see Donnie Joyner out here. Donnie, you want to come up, please? Tell us a little bit about, you remember back that far.
I think I can. Well, what I remember is, see, I lived about a mile out. So when my aunt would take me to downtown, we would stop at Mr. Willie's, and my favorite was sherbet, was a grape sherbet. And she would buy me a grape sherbet. Mr. Willie was a very kind man. I don't know of anybody that had anything against Mr. Willie. And Mrs. Anna was very nice. She was a lady. And I got to come down every so often because, like I said, we lived about a mile out. But his sherbets were the best. He had an ice crusher when I used to go in there, and he would take the ice, put it in the crusher, hold the handle down. It was electric. He'd grind it up, put it in a snow cone, and say, "Okay, son, what flavor?" And I'd tell him grape, sir. And he would fix that. That was some of the best that I've ever had. That's some of the things I knew about Mr. Willie. His son, youngest son, James Russell, was married to my first cousin, Bernice. So they had a son named William. William was about my age, maybe almost a year younger than I. And I always loved when my aunt would take me down to her niece Bernice and her Russell's house, because William and I would make a trip over to Mr. Willie's. And once we made the trip over to Mr. Willie's, I knew what was coming next, a grape sherbet. And I've had a lot of fond memories about Mr. Willie. I knew the family for many, many years, but like I said, most of the time, it was like a treat because we didn't get a chance to come into Southport that often. That when we did, if Mr. Williams was open, as a kid, that's the first place I looked. And he made some of the best milkshakes you ever had. That's my story, Bob.
All right,
I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Donnie.
You're welcome.
Chuck, now we have 2 calls for grape sherbet.
Yeah, I guess I will have to be bringing grape in.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Debbie and Chuck for hosting us this morning.
Thank you.
It was great
Thank you
hearing
for coming.
stories, and thank Donnie Joyner and Mary Ellen. And also thank our cameraman, Zeb Stars.
Thank
you all
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're not breakfast ice cream now.
Okay, I'll go get
Got
it.
it. Okay.